Do you talk about that? Do you talk about your a little I guess habits, you know what I mean? Like things you like to partake with?
No, I mean the big thing for me is I used to dip. Like,
Oh, that makes sense.
yeah,
That's
for
where
a
the
lot.
drinking testosterone comes from.
Hey, I needed to cut that habit as those out there that have had that habit. It's not the best habit to have. So, Rogues in, those types of things.
Yeah.
Hey, we got some guys here, because we have the Vegas Golden Knights, that some guys that were around. They got these like Russian Zins. They're
Oh,
like,
dude,
dude,
that sounds
they're
like you're
like
gonna disappear.
100%. So I'm like, hey man, not, I'm just gonna stay low key.
You didn't
So, but
experiment?
yeah, what's that?
You didn't experiment?
Oh yeah, I tried it, dude. It was like
Okay.
putting gas in your mouth. I mean, it was like, like I don't think these are. It reminded me of tobacco. So I'm like,
Okay.
I think there's actually we're just back to, dipping at this point.
Yeah. At this point, we're just back to the good old classic stuff, right?
Yeah.
You know what's not classic, and I don't think will ever be classic, Nick? That's EV, sir. I don't think we're ever gonna have EV classics. Do you? What do you think about that?
No, look, but I'll tell you what's strange is, a lot of people are coming out of the woodwork, and I don't mean like they're trying to show off, but there's a lot of Teslas with like 175,000 miles.
Really?
There's like,
You seen people like make these posts like with big claims or what?
not big claims, like just somebody saying, "Hey, that's the weirdest part about it is it's like it's just kind of a normal. It isn't like somebody trying to brag that I've come across it. It's like, hey, this is pretty cool. My Tesla just went over 162,000 miles. I'm like, we just don't talk about that. I mean, it's not like we all just sit there and think about how much mileage is on someone's car,
Right.
but it catches you off guard. But you're right. I mean, none of them have the design that's going to make it a classic. There's no way.
Did you ever think to yourself, have you ever just been sitting there at your desk, kind of thinking about all the crazy things Nick thinks about? I actually have this perfect screenshot of you from one of the videos that's coming out where it looks like I'm just going to start using it as a GIF, like superimposing it on the parts where you look annoyed or you would sound annoyed. Because I
Yeah.
just caught a still of you looking back at something like this look. It's going to be a classic GIF. I can't wait to start using it on videos. But have you ever been sitting there and thought to yourself, I really wish the Nikola Badger would have came out?
Wow. I got to be honest. Pull up a picture of that thing.
Ooh, okay.
Let's
Or
pull it
any
up.
initial thoughts when you even think of Nikola, considering all the craziness coming out about them and the guy and whatnot?
Yeah, I mean, look, I think let's ask a question here.
Okay.
Are we just doing? Are we now just to a point? It's like when they were like, "Hey, we're reviving DeLorean." It's like, well, nobody wanted DeLorean revived. I mean, are we just getting to the point where? And I think everybody feels this way. The electric platform is so easy to just put a body on
Hmm.
that now we're essentially we're just going to hear about all of these different types of vehicles. Well, check out this vehicle and check out this vehicle. Then look at this vehicle. But do they ever really come to fruition? Are they ever going to come to fruition? Are they ever going to sell more than 10 of them?
No.
Oh, wow.
Do you remember this?
Yeah, I do now. I tell you what, I mean, essentially they just said, hey, let's build a TRX.
It does look like it. I don't remember which creator it was, but it was somebody in the truck world. I think it might have been even diesel world. I don't know exactly who, so I won't say a name. Actually, here he is, right here. This guy, Dave Sparks, guy with the beard. I remember him doing some videos on this thing a couple years ago. I don't remember if there was controversy early on, but it seems like this company was always just filled with bigger goals and aspirations that were ever really going to happen, right? Like with the most of these
Yeah.
startups. And
Yeah.
now, guys in prison, there's corruption, lies, all kinds of crazy stuff.
Who was the guy behind it?
His name was, let me see, I actually had it right here. It was, damn, what was the guy's name? He went to prison, right? He was convicted of defrauding either GM or stakeholders or something. I don't have the name in front of me.
Yeah, well, I look at this stuff, and I got to sure. I'm sure that
Oh, Trevor Milton was the founder.
Oh, Trevor Milton. That's
Yes.
right. Hey, that dude was under fire.
Yes.
I would say this: of all of the stuff that's popped out of this, I think massive numbers of things just haven't worked. Have been some level of fraud. Have been some level of incompetence. Have been some level of dot 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 dot. I just wonder if that's going to speed up or if that's going to slow down. And I think that's the questions about the EV platforms, because you got to remember, you're now in a situation where China's online. China's online. So,
That
I
actually moves me
mean,
to my next topic. Actually, if you want to talk about it, so there's a conversation
yeah.
around the car world, especially if you're like covering EVs or you're deep into the EV world, or you just want to kind of have a commentary take on it. Where and you and I have talked about, and you've made great points about letting the market kind of decide, let capitalism do its thing, right? Well, the take from a lot of these people is that if we do that, China would just win, right? Like the Chinese EVs are just that much better, so much superior than anything America's ever produced that it would just take over. And there's way more to that importing,
Sure.
exporting, the people, the demand, all that kind of stuff.
Yeah.
But what is your take on a sentiment like that? That it's just the market's
Well, look, there's no doubt that, we do, what would you call it? Like corporate, driving around the world, right? So
Mhm.
we help Chevron get, I mean, I think you can probably say this is why most wars happen.
Right, right,
Minerals,
100%.
oil, natural gas, cobalt,
Hmm.
all those kind of things, right? So there's no doubt that governments step in and aid
Put the finger
large
on the scale.
companies.
Hmm.
What's that?
Put the finger on the scale in a sense.
100% in a big way, right? Like,
Yeah.
we're talking about, you start thinking about defense contractors and you start thinking about, there's a lot of this kind of stuff. I don't think it's a horrible argument to say China's going to flood other markets with these cars. And what's going to happen is the American manufacturers are really only going to be selling lots of American cars in America.
Yeah.
They're not really going to be globally, able to compete. Does that mean the government should step in? I think the government should step in and put pressure on the governments not to import the Chinese goods.
Right.
That'd be my take. So spin that instead of forcing the government to subsidize EVs here in the US, which obviously is not working on a broad scale.
Hmm.
Okay. The move would be geopolitical moves that you make. Like Mexico's the perfect example. How is BYD allowed to sell into Mexico?
Exactly.
Right? I mean, it's a and again, Mexico runs their own country. I'm not, people get real defensive when somebody says something like that. Realize I'm not making a political statement. I'm just making a common sense business statement. Instead of talking about tariffing Mexico, I'd be talking about you need to cut BYD off.
Hmm.
Okay, you can't bring in Chinese goods and do business with us on that level. Dot 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 dot. Do we have the right people that have that diplomacy right now? I don't think they're diplomatic. So I
No.
think that it's not a diplomatic crew right now in the political world.
And we've talked about this too, where I at least have said, don't let the fear mongering right take over right now. We got a lot of like pauses on things. I would say late spring, early summer, we'll really know how more of this kind of shakes out. But if you do Google the just U.S. automakers, just that phrase alone, you'll get a half a dozen on the first page of the tariff this and the debacle that, and America shooting a hole
Sure.
in the U.S. auto industry. Relax, okay? And specifically, I'm talking about, and this isn't Nick's take. All these words that I say that come out of my mouth are mine and mine only, not Nick's or any of his endeavors. But publications like Jalopnik, like they use the most sensationalized headlines,
Sure.
and then when you read through the article, maybe they made a couple of like decent points about facts, and then whoever wrote it just puts a lot of their own feeling into the, almost like activism style, and people are just going to read the headline, maybe the first two or three lines, and then run
Yep.
off, and it's just so bad for the industry and for the consumer as a whole to have that sentiment walking around thinking that the U.S. auto industry is just going to fall apart tomorrow.
Yeah, and it's not. I mean, you're right. There's a sensationalism about. That's why we kind of always say auto journalist in air quotes.
Yeah. Oh.
That's where this kind of started, right? Which is like I really can't point to 5 auto journalists. I
Hmm.
just couldn't point. I mean, you couldn't either. I mean, I think we put our heads together. We'd probably be lucky to find 2 or 3, and you'd be stretching on 2 and 3. You know what I mean? Like there's not very many automotive journalists. And what I mean is they don't actually put the work in. If you're not going to dig into the scandals during COVID, don't tell me you're a journalist. Because let me tell you, if you guys all think that was supply and demand, I got a lot of real estate to sell you. Lots of real estate. If you just think it was a supply and demand thing, like, you don't think they were choking things off. Like, look, we have it on good authority. You know the people I'm talking about with this. The chip manufacturing problem was about a 6 to 8 month problem. Magically, you're getting charged astronomical prices for 5 years. Come on, man. Like, there's no automotive journalists. Let's just I think we almost have to retire that word. I mean, those words together. I mean,
Dude.
to be very fair.
Yeah, I'm gonna wait for some of this to kind of work its way through the world and the U.S. and then I will probably end up doing separate content on this because I think it's so bad that people. I mean, there's ethics go out the window. I've even had conversations with
Sure.
Nick where we just talk about like things that go out there into the world on YouTube in any space, business, cars, doesn't matter. Like, do we still live in a meritocracy, right? Like, well, how do you get things to get viral or attention or whatever? Anyway, it's for a separate topic. But for this particular article that I was reading, or a couple of them, I went through what I do now, and I advise people. I suggest you do this. Like, if you really think that what was written and that you read was so crazy, go find whoever wrote it. It's usually in the headline, and then just put it in an AI. Like, put in the person and then prompt it to tell you something. Well, this person that wrote this had a track record of just writing the craziest, in my opinion, just almost sensationalized things about young America and people and masculinity and gas-powered cars versus EVs, all the stuff that you would think somebody like this would
Yeah.
write when they write a headline like that. So I'm like, okay,
A cultist.
exactly.
This is where we're at in the EV space.
Yes.
Right.
Yes,
So
yes.
I want to give everybody my thought on EV space because I've been thinking a lot about this because so many people talk to me about it, right? Because EV is just the biggest thing. You have 20% and 20%. Okay, so let's take 40% of the population. 40% of the population is going to be made up of two people. It's identical to politics to me. Okay, 20% are EV cultists. They're going to tell you how it's so great. If you drive an ICE engine, you're the devil, whatever. But then you have the other 20% that are anti-EV. They've never been in them. They don't know anything about them. They don't know how it could benefit someone's life. They don't know how easy it is if you have a house to plug. They're going to hate on EVs blindly because that's what they're going to do. The 60% in the middle is up for grabs. That's me, where I go, hey, man, I'm not one way or the other, but both of those 20% of people on the opposite end of the spectrum make me not want to talk about it, make me not want to engage in it, make me not want to have any conversations with people. And you and I can say this. I think we've said it in an earlier episode, and I know we have so many more people listening now that probably didn't listen to those episodes. There was a guy who got drunk on a podcast who is an EV cultist in the media that is probably the biggest reason you and I are doing this podcast.
Facts.
Correct?
Big facts.
That's big facts.
And for $1 million, we'll tell you who it is.
And by the way, I don't think it's going to take $1 million here soon. Like if you get drunk on a podcast and the people around you on the podcast are like, hey man, that doesn't sound right. And you just keep arguing them.
Yeah.
You're a cultist. You're not an EV proponent. Like it's cool. To me, I say this. Whatever car you're into, man, be into it. So if you're into Teslas, be into them. Doesn't bother me. It's your money. But when somebody questions how they're mining things, when they question the disposal of things, when they question the water usage, when they question the slave labor, when they question legitimate things, it's time to have a conversation. But you shut that down when you're a cultist, and that's both sides. And I think the thing that sucks about EV is it's never really been given a chance to be spoken about properly to the 60% of us that are just like, tell me some more. Let me try it out. Let me hang out with it. Let me drive it a little bit. That's to me that's what Jalopnik, this writer you're saying, is ruining, which is most of us just want to shoot the shit about a car.
100%. I couldn't agree more. Let's cleanse the palate as a hot hatch boy and as a Lexus LX470, soon to be dune buggy off-roader Dunesmobile person.
That's fun.
This is what I want to cleanse.
Hey, don't get carpet if you take it through a water canal.
Hey, slow down. We're going to get there. Slow down. Okay, look, let's cleanse the palate. This looks sick.
Whoa.
This is Kia's PV5 electric concept van. Tell me this doesn't look sick.
Tell me that's not the modern white panel van you tell your kids not to go near.
Yep, for sure. Hey, if they're giving you free drones, kind of like free candy back in the day, do not take the drone. They might take you in the van. This looks awesome.
Yeah, what a good job by Kia there. Look at this thing. Hey, I'm going to tell you what they're getting much better at with the EV world, the wheels.
Dude, for sure.
The wheels are way better because, hey, early EVs, those hubcaps were that people were putting on were just not.
Atrocious.
We're not looking good. But now we're in this position where I think we're coming into our own with the EV wheels. Oh, look at
Bro,
that thing.
look at that thing.
Is
If
that
you're not
solar
seeing this,
power on the top or is that a
it looks
camper?
it looks like both. It's definitely a camper, but it could be solar power. If you're not seeing this on YouTube, Clutch Culture Pod on YouTube, or just look up the PV5. That looks sick.
Wow,
It
that is
is
incredible.
definitely solar. Look at that.
Hey, you're just off grid in Moab,
Please
just balling.
sign
You
me
know,
up. But please, I need really cool.
just eating beans out of a can, raging about the government. Like this has all the vibes.
Relax. I need the good cabinet too. I need some internet and Wi-Fi. I need Starlink at the very
Get
least.
some Starlink so Elon can steal your data.
Yeah, he's had it for decades. Look at this interior.
I know. Everybody pays with PayPal. They're like, I don't want him to have my data. I'm like, bud,
You freaking
they've been
dorks.
stealing your data since 1998.
Go back to King of the Hill season 1, episode 1. Dale explains it all. That's all I gotta say. He was spot on.
Yeah, your boy.
Love it. Love it. Okay.
Hey, that's a good find right there.
Thank you,
I
thank
would
you.
definitely see, and that's what I mean. You shouldn't turn off the 60% on a vehicle like that because of the opposite ends of the spectrum. Because that you would drive that vehicle.
Hell
There's
yeah.
no question.
No doubt.
By the way, the new Volkswagen bus, you're driving that.
Well, yes. Funny enough, in that article, as I read, it was a pretty long article on the concept, but that's kind of like the aim is to be the ID Buzz killer kind of thing.
Yeah, well, I got news for you. That ID Buzz I saw on the freeway, that's cool.
It is cool.
Again,
It is cool.
oh, it's cool, dude. It looks good. Again, you got to be. I understand it's not a $150,000 XYZ vehicle.
Yeah.
For what they did, for how it looks, for how they modernized it. Again, we can pick things apart. You see it on the road, you go, all right. Again, we all know that it's the price point that gets everybody to go. That's not, and everybody's right. Like I feel the same way. But if it was 48,000, you feel pretty good. You'd feel
100%.
pretty good.
Can't get a Golf R for 48,000. If I can get that for 48,000, I'm in.
That's what I'm saying.
And the bright side is you can always LS swap it later in the future.
Yeah, you just go, you know what? Let me make this a hybrid my way.
There you go. Exactly. Everybody, if you're new to the show, welcome to the #1 automotive, current news, pop culture, crisis kind of related podcast in the world.
Yeah.
Every Monday, we bring you trends, market predictions, but more importantly, it's a good hang.
For sure.
I was just really, literally drooling over the fact of something like that existing because it looks out of a video game. It looks like out of the future. It looks like it's practical, like you can use it on the road, off the road. Like that's
yeah, I think there's a disruption, for anybody that's in a service-based local business, like the Ford Transit vans and the Dodge Connects or whatever they're called. Mm-hmm. I think there's a huge market for somebody to go disrupt like that local company that's a plumbing company, whatever that drives those smaller vans. Mm-hmm. To me, why does the EV not fit perfectly into that? I mean, you drive 250 miles a day, usually or less. I mean, I got trucks on the road. So 250 miles or less. Those Ford vans have never been really well built. All kinds of transmission issues. Mercedes has issues. This has issues, right? That seems like we all should EV, because you go back to your office, you go back to your yard, whatever, you plug them in. Seems like it could work. That seems like it could work to me. That seems like disruption.
It's a very good point. First thing that comes to mind is I have a friend who has been working in the florist industry for a long time, and their shop. And you don't ever think I don't think about this, but there's places that all they do is they produce arrangements for businesses, lobbies, multifamily. You know what I mean? And they have a slew of vans where they're just constantly going out sending arrangements to all these businesses and commercial people that buy them. This is a perfect fit for stuff like that.
Yeah, to me, and I think it's because they've been so poorly built for so long. Like anybody that's had them will tell you, like they're always in the shop. You're not, the Chevy cargo van, that kind of got to the point where you're like, hey, this thing works real well. Well, what was the Ford Econo line? The Econo line from Ford. We're now to these like transits and stuff. They don't hold up. I think that's right for disruption. You start talking about batteries that get 400 miles. There's almost no argument that you couldn't disrupt that market if you could make them reliable.
Yeah, that's the only thing that really stops me from justifying an EV is that I do a month I'm probably doing, well over 1,500 miles, on the road. I'm not trusting that on any EV right now, to be honest,
Well, I agree with you because and the other thing is when they go down, we've explained this before. I have so many lemon law situations that have come through Lucid, Rivian, Tesla. I'm just telling you, like very rare in my life, I get a gas powered lemon law situation. They usually just swap the engine out and you're back on your way.
Yeah.
There's been a lot of lemon law situations. And when EVs go down, sometimes it's a quick fix. A lot of times you're talking about real time down.
Well, let's shift over to a type of car that I think is more of up Nick's alley because he is of the taste-making type, where I'm as of the more generalized folk type. But the new Rolls Royce, have you seen this thing? The Black's
Yeah.
badge, dude. No V12 here. We're talking EV.
Yeah, no, and there's a lot of people. There is an opulence with Rolls Royce.
Opulence, good word.
Hey, look,
If you know, you know.
I wear big hats, Rob. They don't just go on give you a big head for no reason. Yeah, dude, that's so sick. That's so sick. I mean,
It starts.
one thing about Rolls Royce, if you had a stable of cars,
Uh-huh.
first of all, I think most of us listening are probably more if you had to pick Rolls Royce or Bentley. We all pretty much pick Bentley. Okay. Meaning like we're younger, Bentley hits different. Bentley's been better, as at design for people like us. But you want to really ball,
Yeah,
get you a Rolls Royce.
it's true.
Like get you a Rolls Royce. Cause like if you ever see one pull up at a gas station, and the thing is, my guys, we take care of some, obviously.
Yeah.
They love like driving them. Like they just go, even if they're not into Rolls Royce, they go, wow. It's like when you get in the Cullinan, you go,
Yeah.
I could rock this.
I
But you
gotta
get next
admit.
to it, it's beefy. I'll say this: Rolls Royce has always been. I know Rolls Royce and Bentley get put together, but Rolls Royce is so far ahead of Bentley in that upper echelon. If you want to own one of those cars, you probably buy the Bentley, good engines. I get all that. But the thing is, man, Rolls Royce does the luxury, and it's so insane.
What do you think of these screens like I'm showing here on screen that go from side to side of the entire dash?
I think that could take away from Rolls Royce.
Yeah.
Honestly, I think there's now. Here's the real crazy thing about Rolls Royce: it's always been quiet. So, are you really gaining that much by,
That
you
is a
know,
solid point. That is a
like you really
solid.
gaining all that much?
What
You
are
really
you
having
getting?
that much of a different
What do you think they could
experience? You
do
can't
with
hear
the
anything
gate?
anyway.
Exactly. It's already comfortable. It looks great. Like, are you really gaining the fact that it has maybe that much more power? Or like,
Sure. I mean,
sure.
look, it's obviously quicker, but part of the elegance of Rolls Royce is you don't gun it off the line. You're just chilling. You go, hey, I'm too rich. I don't have to be a whole bunch of places. I get
But if
there
I
when I
wanted
get there.
to, I'll
But if
hop
I
on
wanted to, here we go.
it. Okay.
Like, dude, I'm telling you, Rolls Royce. And look, I live in Vegas, so we have a lot of high roller, pickup vehicles or Rolls Royces and different things like that. Like I look at Rolls Royce, and I always have. I think you're probably the same. Many of our listeners are the same. When you see one, it's still pretty special. You can't say the same about many cars. Like Rolls Royce is still like on the freeway. You still give it one of these, like okay. If you drove by a Bentley, you're not really looking to you're just kind of saying, oh, there's a Bentley, but you're giving it a double take on a Rolls Royce. That's the way I feel anyway.
And a part of me saying, man, why are you driving that? Like, why is that actually on the highway? Why didn't
And
you
by the
bring out
way,
like the Chrysler 300 instead?
yeah, where's your driver?
Yeah, exactly. What are you
You
doing?
know, I mean, what are you doing? Sit in the back.
It says here the newly minted most powerful Rolls Royce ever is good for a whopping 659 horsepower and 792 pound-feet of torque. Why do through its electric powertrain? Why do I feel like that's low? I thought it would have been
Because I'm
higher.
going to tell you this. I guarantee you they want the same driving experience that you get with gas in your electric vehicle.
Okay.
I don't think they're going
They don't
for.
want Tesla plaid stuff.
I don't think. That's not the way you drive those cars. I mean, it's just not the way you experience those cars. Now, look, as somebody who has not driven the electric Rolls Royce,
Yeah.
I would say that I'm taking a guess here, but I think you're going to find they probably wanted this to be as close to this is how you experience a Rolls Royce. They're probably one of the few companies in the world, in the car building world, that think about every aspect of your experience to that level. That's why I would say that. Like,
That's a really good point.
like you
I
get
never would
into
have
a
thought.
Bentley, you just know you're going to have an O2 sensor flashing on, that you got to go to the dealership. Rolls Royce is like, yeah, we don't really want you at the dealership all that often, right? Like, we'll come get it. You stay at your house. They are an experienced brand, much different than almost, I would say, than anybody in the whole car world almost.
What a great point. And I wouldn't have thought of that because we're so desensitized with numbers. We talk about this track number 0 to 60, the
Yeah, it's so
horsepower, the
stupid.
torque. It's so dumb. It's so dumb. And this is
Stupid.
coming from somebody who likes those numbers in theory. But you haven't found me watching one of those videos in probably 2, 3, if not more years where the headline or, the caption is just like XYZ does it in 3.2, 3.5, 3, whatever. It's like,
2.9. It's like,
yeah, it's
I
like, all
mean,
right,
at this
man.
point, guys, again, for those that are new here, here's my whole performance car of the year, 0 to 60. It's like, come on, man. I mean, people are doing it in 2 seconds. What,
Yeah,
what are we sitting here talking
crazy.
about? Like, a Model 3 is getting off the line quicker than 99% of cars most people can drive. So
Yeah.
I just look at it and go, I think Rolls-Royce has to be thinking about how you leave the light, right?
Mhm.
So red light, you're stopped. I'll be interested to see if that's what they throttled back the power in the drivetrain to make it so you get off the line. It's still that Rolls-Royce experience. I'll be interested to see.
Yeah, no, same. And as we keep it moving, we're gonna volley back and forth. There's a lot of EV news, and I don't want to make a whole episode just about EVs, but you gotta talk about it because I feel like we take an approach that most other people just don't, and people enjoy it. With that said, go leave us a review if you really enjoy the conversations on Apple and Spotify. I think Nick really hurt some feelings because our Spotify rating went down to a 4.6.
What happened?
I have no idea. You pissed some people off.
Oh, wow. Can you
Got the
get some
pitchforks.
family and friends to,
100%. Please tell your friends. Get your baby. Sign up a baby account for
yeah,
your soon-to-be
just
child
just
and
hit
for
the
the
five
future.
star.
Thank
That's
you.
crazy.
Yeah, I know. That's wild. I was like, I was taken back. I was like,
Because isn't our Apple thing 5?
yeah, it's 5, and there's like I don't know, a couple, maybe a dozen reviews. It's great. By the way, if you leave 5 stars, go ahead and write the review. Like, don't just give
Yeah.
us the 5 stars. Like, are
So
we
hey,
asking for too
this
much?
this would be so much better if Nick wasn't on there. 5 stars.
Yeah, right. I want you to fear how much you love me. All right, the rumor is, dude, that Dodge wants to do a cheap, hardcore sports car. And I had so many thoughts about this particular topic because we've talked about it ad nauseum on and off the podcast, and I think more so off the podcast. But can these people, meaning Dodge and other manufacturers, make a sport enthusiast car, make money from the car, and have enough to reinvest so that future generations of that car can continue to be produced?
Well, I think Miata's proven you can. I
That's the
mean,
only one, though. That's what everybody says.
yeah, I'm with you. I think Supra was launched improperly. That could be one. I
I'm
think the
sad about that.
Nissan Z absolutely could have been one. I think the reason that they weren't, number one, when Toyota goes, hey, we're going to go ahead and outsource the build of this car,
Yeah.
that might mean you're not that committed to it. The price point was wrong because, you know, I think you got to start talking about being sub 45 grand, which means you're going to have to make some, maybe you're not going to throw all the horsepower in there. Maybe you are going to worry a little bit more on the chassis and how it handles. And the other thing they're not very good at, I think Supra kind of proves it because it was the last big real release of this, what you would call, I don't want to say this the wrong way, but the mid-tier sports car, right? The lower tier sports car is like a Supra or something like that.
Mm-hmm.
So when did you ever see Toyota get marketing behind it? We need to start talking about this, right? So do you think Nissan, and look, we all watch the Super Bowl, we all watch sports, or most of us anyway. When are you seeing a bunch of Z, commercials? When are you seeing a bunch of Supra commercials? And guess what? That stuff matters. This is the whole wagon conversation we've had. If all you're going to do is show me Tundra and 4Runner in Tacoma, then yeah, man, Sienna is going to lose some sales and Supra is going to lose sales. And you're throwing your dollars around 3 or 4 or 5 vehicles. We talked about the Venza, right, from Toyota.
Yeah.
Did you ever see a Venza commercial? I mean, it just didn't happen. So you're not going to sell them. People have to be marketed to understand. And so the question is, yes, they can build a sub $45,000, and I think that's the number, sub $50,000 sports car. Mm-hmm. The question from that point is, are they actually going to put weight behind it? marketing, social media, the dollars, the cents that drive the market. That's what none of these companies have done, from Toyota to Nissan, largely to Miata. I mean, Miata doesn't have a bunch of commercials out there. And so
Right.
you start to have these conversations. The conversation is not whether or not they can do it. They can build them. Are they going to put the money behind it to develop the crowd to come buy them?
Did I could have missed it, but did Toyota ever do anything that would have boosted the marketing, like with the Fast and the Furious name or crowd? Like, can you imagine Paul Walker's
No.
brother driving? You know what I mean? Like, how cool that would have been when they launched the
Yeah.
Supra.
I mean, look, nobody was clamoring for this Supra to be brought back. Nobody. I mean, you brought it back because there was nostalgia. You did nothing with the nostalgia. You did nothing with it. I mean, you and I both know they did nothing with it. They've sort of admitted that they did nothing with it. And again, people will point to it and go, people don't want to buy sports cars. We have yet to see the sub $50,000, $60,000, whatever it is, the lower tier, mid tier sports car with real marketing dollars behind it in the last decade of my life. I mean, can you remember 2 commercials?
Oh no,
Not really.
thinking hard.
Not really. I mean, I'm sure and somebody will put them in like, oh, don't you remember this commercial in 2013? It's like, I got you,
That thing
man.
got a Hemi.
Yeah. Now, by the way, that was a commercial.
Shout out John Reap, comedian, great. That was a great commercial. Damn,
Hey,
John,
you're about to find out. Like, dude, that I'm here to tell you, that made you want a Hemi.
This is what we need. Boom. You know what we need to do is for the new EV Dodge Charger crap that's coming out, they're going to end up putting VAs in there. We need Shane Gillis drinking a Bud Light, recreating those commercials.
Hey, I'll tell you what's crazy. Again, I think a theme of this podcast, we're going to go ahead and say this is us.
Okay.
Did no executives ride in that vehicle that they go, you know what's cool? These sounds.
0.
You guys never just go, nobody ever spoke up at the meeting and goes, this is kind of corny.
100%. And along with that, you should have had Roush and Magnaflow or whoever else was creating these exhaust speaker systems being like, hey guys, this is where we're gonna put our foot down on this right here.
Yeah, but I think, and again, please, if you work for a manufacturer, not drivetrain engineer in Cleveland, we're talking about if you are somebody out there who currently works at a manufacturer, are the decision makers actually driving these cars in a finished form that then they go, yep, this is it? Because there's a lot of vehicles being released that you go, somebody rode in the Dodge Hornet and goes, yep, we can charge $45 for this. I just can't imagine that's. I mean, if we're saying that, do you realize the level of incompetence we're talking about globally in the car business? If that's the case,
Took the words right out of my mouth. Maybe I'm I'm so romantic about cars to a degree that it doesn't make sense. But tell me if this is over romanticizing the fact that the scene from Ford versus Ferrari, where he's having the whole conversation with the Ford executives and whatnot, and then Homeboy's like, it goes straight to me. It didn't go through the stacks of people that it needs to get to. I think that's really happening in everybody's offices.
I tend to agree with you, and that's why we keep saying, like, I don't want to assume, but there's no way that you put 7 bodies in that Cadillac Escalade, electric. There's no way. There's just no way you did that. And everybody goes,
Don't throw him
hey,
back by that.
hey, boss, this is great. You know what I'm saying? Like, there's no way you did that.
No.
I
because one,
can't
it wouldn't
believe
fit.
anybody over the age of 20 would get in that vehicle and go, yeah, we can comfortably fit all 7 of us in here. And so you're talking about guys and gals that are 45, 55, 65 years old, been in the car business their whole life. You guys signed off on it? Like, to me, that's a fireable offense. If you were one of the people that sat in one of these cars and goes, this is awesome, fired.
And imagine going to school. Imagine going to college with some of these frat-tastic bros. Maybe Nick and I were both these frat-tastic bros, but we'll just say that the frat-tastic bro gets one of the Escalades from his dad, right? And then he goes, hey, check it out, see if you like it, we'll buy it. They used to say, back in our day, or my day, faux dos for Mo, fill in the blank.
Yeah,
You get
absolutely.
into that thing, they're not fitting in the back of it. It's just what it is.
Hey, and if you've had a few beers, some of those chicks from the bar definitely aren't fitting in the back of that thing.
100%.
You go,
Lose here.
yeah, you got to look at it and go, okay, so we're at the bar.
Yeah.
We got a designated driver.
Yep.
And we all can't fit to go back to the frat house.
It's an atrocity is what it is.
Atrocity. Like somebody's sitting in the trunk, like how you going to get in? you can't even party in this thing.
Sorry, the batteries are taking up all the space in the back.
But let me tell you this: you go back to that like OG Suburban, everybody was there to party.
100%.
Hey, you're taking 10, 12 bodies home from the bar.
One of the best vehicles to do that in was the old Excursion, by the way. If you've never had
Dude, I love
that,
Excursions.
I love those things.
Hey, the Power Stroke Excursion got a guy go out of my. I live in a court. You go out of my court, you make a right. The guy that I can see headed to the next stop sign got a big old lifted Excursion.
Dude, I don't know what it is. Please tell me if you think you know what it is, Nick. But if I find one of those, I want one. Like that's on the level of like.
Yeah, it'd be on the list.
You know
it'd
what
be
I
on
mean?
the list.
Okay, cool. We never really talked about that, but I love that vehicle.
Yeah, Excursion. Something about how the back doors open.
Yep.
The thing just screams. I have to go to work, but I'm actually just going to the soccer game. You know what I'm saying? Like you might think I'm doing some real work out of this thing, but no,
Right.
I just got 2 of my kids in here.
100%. Okay. All right. We're on the same page. Awesome. If you guys are selling one, if it's on low miles, no miles, maybe we'll find it and actually consider
Hey,
it.
they pull big bucks.
They
You got a diesel, they pull big bucks.
They absolutely do. Speaking of, man, I thought I had screenshotted it, but there was something else I saw. We just it's a recurring bit here. We got to bring up low miles, no miles, but there's been some really cool cars that you kind of forget about, and I'm gonna go to the page here.
Hey,
briefly.
tell me you saw that Dale Earnhardt joint.
That's what it was.
Hey, 100%. You and I didn't even talk about this,
dude. Okay, I got to
do it for Dale.
Do it for Dale. Hell yeah, brother. Look at
Bush
this
Lights
thing.
and Dale. Hey, that thing is sick.
That's so cool. With the Craftsman, eyebrow there on the.
Let me tell you what you rock when you drive that thing. I'm going to set you up right now.
Okay.
You got you some Levi's on. Mm-hmm. Shoe of your choice. We're not picky, but you better find that Dale NASCAR jacket. I don't care if it's 100 degrees, the winter time. Those old NASCAR jackets. Look, you're in Houston. Those were huge when guys would have those M&M jackets.
Yes.
So at the end of the day, the only way you can drive this thing, I don't care if you're just driving it to the store. You're going jeans, NASCAR, the jacket that matches it. That's what you're doing.
I mean, I would wear that every day, all day, the whole year. I really would.
But you know what I mean. Hey, rappers and shit used to wear those NASCAR jackets everywhere. Yeah. That shit was hilarious.
Dude, I got Levi's on now. I got my Ariats on. All right. Only thing I'm missing is the cowboy hat and the fucking, belt.
Dude, look, I don't know if I should share it here because I am building a Doomsday vehicle. I'm going to go ahead and tell everybody this. I don't own a pair of jeans.
What?
Yep. There's a little Nick secret. I think jeans are the most uncomfortable thing on the planet.
Well, you haven't bought the right jeans, sir.
Hey, look, maybe you're right, but let me tell you this: I don't own one pair of jeans.
Okay, all right. Pause. Time out.
That's why I can't buy the Dale Earnhardt. I just told you the outfit. I just told you the getup you have to have in that thing.
Look, I've hung out with Nick. Nick's in good shape, but it's not like you're cheeked up like Brock Lesnar or something. Like you got to find pants that fit you.
No, it's not about that. I just don't like them.
Oh, you just don't like wearing?
I just don't like them. Yeah, I'm not sitting here saying like, "Hey, dude, I'm squatting 600." Yeah, no, I'm here to tell you, it's just I don't like them. So for everybody that doesn't know, I rock like golf shorts. Black pants. Like a normal black pant, like a work pant.
Yeah.
Hey, once we hit like 70, I'm shorts.
Shorts. Okay.
And they're not made out of jean. They're like board short. I'm a board short kind of guy.
Actually, that's not a bad idea, though. You go with the jean shorts, the New Balances, and the high socks.
Yeah, you can get in that. Do it for Dale, 100%.
Here's one other one before we move on. But here's one other one that I saw. This was a truck this was my high school truck. This is exactly what I drove, but it was blue. I want this so bad.
Oh, wow. You were rich.
Whoa. It was a 95 as well. It wasn't the Z71, though, unfortunately. I wanted the Z71, but it was the exact same truck, but blue.
Hey, my first car, definitely not this nice.
I had the leather, too. I didn't have the cloth.
Wow. We didn't realize how rich you were.
That was a Cadillac, bro. This was for the work truck. It just happened to be somewhat nice.
Hey, those things are so awesome.
Man, dude.
What are they asking for it? 32?
32.9. It's got the 5.7 350.
Hey, how about that dent right there? That's in a questionable spot.
Is it a dent? Where?
Isn't that a dent right there?
I think no, it's just a reflection. It's so shiny.
Oh, I was like, I don't know, man. That dent might scream frame damage.
This is mint. Look at these floor mats. Speaking of floor mats, it's going to be our next topic here.
Hey,
These things are mint, dude.
I love those Z71s. And we talked about them, I think, in an early episode when it wasn't on low miles, no miles, of like that's one of those trucks if you could find.
Yeah.
Now, 32,000 is getting to a point where I might go,
I
you
might do
know,
half of that. I do 15. I probably do
yeah, if
15.
you could find one for like 18, something
Yeah.
like that, sub 20 would be all right.
Sub 20 would not just be all right, but it would make sense. No
Yeah,
offense if you listen to this and you own that. It's a beautiful truck, but God, man.
32 is a little tough.
I think of another thing that comes to mind real quick is Walker, Texas Ranger, like him in a pickup truck sliding
Those
around.
KC lights, those
Hell
KC lights.
yeah, brother.
Yeah.
Love it.
Our
Okay, so
friends
look,
Marshall and Brian, I know you knuckleheads are listening to this. They're trying to
oh,
ruin my Doomsday build with KC lights in the text message. They're like, "Hey, why don't you get those KC lights?" I hit them with this isn't a Walker Texas Ranger build.
they took it a step too far. I never would have suggested that for
Yeah.
I'm still on the ladder though. That might come. I'm telling you, that's probably going to come. That'll
Look,
come before Casey
we
Lights.
get the right sponsor, we'll
Okay.
do anything. Okay? Hey,
Fair.
we'll help you out.
That's the attitude. I like it. He's a team player, everybody. But I brought up floor mats to kind of set you up here because I got 8 DMs or so just about floor mats. You probably got some of the same ones, probably other ones. Where
Yep.
are we with an update on your floor mats and the flooring situation?
So we're gonna go with an all-American company, number one, which we kind of stated we want to try to do our best to be in that world. The thing about the floor mats is, look, guys, I've had WeatherTechs, Huskies, all these different iterations. I didn't want that in something I drive every day. I just don't think it's that enjoyable. And by the way, in my vehicle, it's not needed, right? It's just, if I don't like these, will I go that route? Yes. I kind of think that's a last resort for me because for everybody that loves the WeatherTech, Husky, 3D, those types of things, like I'm all into it, but I kind of look at it and go, I've had them in vehicles, man. I got them in my work trucks. I got them in a personal Lexus that my family drives so my kids can throw food on the ground or whatever. But I'm here to tell you, I don't like how they wear. I don't like how they look after a certain period of time. With the extreme heat out here, we do get the curling, much quicker like you probably do in Houston and Central Texas and all that kind of stuff.
Yep.
And so I just didn't think it was high quality enough for what I was trying to do with this vehicle, which is I like driving it. So we stuck with carpet. We had some people say some wild stuff about sticking with carpet. But the cool thing is it's actually a 4-week process from this company, and they mail you out like measured things for you to put in your vehicle, and you go, hey, does this fit right? Do we need to be bigger here? Do you want more here? Do you want your runner in the second row a little bit bigger? So this is like, I don't want to say custom is the right word because it's not custom, but it's as custom as you can get, and we'll put it, we'll have measurements in the cargo area. And we got a little like two-tone thing going on, real vintage, like vintage
Really?
Mercedes, vintage Porsche. That's where these mats are big. So we're going to go with a company called Coco Mats. By the way, I paid for all of them. It was not cheap. I told Rob, look, we're probably, when it's all said and done, you're looking at an $800 expense. But this is kind of how I've always done things with cars. Is like, hey, this is a company doing something unique. This is something that is high quality, handmade. They show you the process. It's pretty incredible. If I don't like them, then I don't like them. That's kind of what happens. They have a cool feature. They have the old school heel pad that's rubberized where you put your heel when you're on the gas and the pedal so you don't wear through your mat.
Yeah.
So I'm actually kind of looking forward to that vintage vibe
like that.
inside this Lexus.
So when can you expect to potentially get them and actually have them in the?
I'd probably say we're about 3 weeks out.
Okay.
About 3 weeks out.
If that's not the first video, like that's got to be a video where we do an in-depth review, install.
Oh hell yeah! I've already thought about like unboxing them and how we want to do. Yeah, like dude, but I want people to understand. When it comes to my personal vehicles, my family, they want a competent vehicle. They don't want me tinkering around with it. Like just getting PPF, the full PPF on my other Lexus was a huge, pain in the ass to get it in here and have them let me have it for a few days so I could get it done. When it's my cars, I don't mind being a little bit of a guinea pig on things that I think could elevate But again, you bet kind of like 60-40 on this. You might get them and go, I don't like them. But you got to be willing to do that. And I think that's where a lot of people, they don't have that. And in my personal vehicles, I'm like, fuck it, let's try it. This guy's doing something cool, let's try it. And so that's what I'm doing here. But by the way, at all like Amelia Island, Pebble Beach, you guys have seen these mats. These used to be the mats in vintage Mercedes and Porsche and those kind of things. So you guys have seen them if you're in that world.
This kind of opens up a bigger conversation too, to just because we made a couple of clips recently about the cost of just doing business, right? And you made a really good point about the people in your park or just people that you've known or you included, prices have gone up 2, 3+100%. And this has to, if you're an enthusiast, make you aware that if you want to keep tinkering, you want to keep having your stuff be a guinea pig for what you like, you have to expect or go in there with a realistic expectation of what you're going to invest is just going to be more expensive, but it's going to be better too.
Yeah, and I think there's one of these things. I told you about an LX Facebook group, and everybody, and I appreciate everybody actually giving us forum recommendations and hey, go check this out. Yeah, I think that's great. The issue that I see a lot of times, and I'm not saying this is across the board, but I think you and I, because you've been in so many shops, I have a shop, all this kind of stuff, that I'm not really trying to cut a corner. I'm not going to cut a corner to do a project quicker. I'm not going to reduce money on the front bumper so I can then do maybe some side skirts the way I want. You made a really good point when we had this conversation kind of offline, is that I go, if the front bumper to be done to the elite level was $2,600, and it was kind of, to do it half-assed was like $1,800. There's an exceptional amount of people that do the $1,800. And you go, well, that's because they think for the whole $2,600 they can get a couple more projects crossed off the list, which is a great way of looking at it. I think I don't do it that way. I'll just do the front bumper, and then when it's time to invest in whatever the next project is, I'll invest in that next project. And I honestly think that's how you come out with a better result, because I've seen a lot of builds, Facebook Marketplace, things for sale, these forums. This Facebook group is wild, what these people say in this Facebook group. I mean, you want to talk about a group of clueless individuals. Like, they have no idea what things are supposed to be valued at. They have no idea what, one guy had his Land Cruiser repainted. He did two-tone. The bottom looked like primer, like that gray primer, while the top was black. He's like, what do you guys think?
It was on purpose, bro. It was on purpose. That's what he was going for.
He literally goes, we made a mistake, but I think it looks good. It's like, no, dog, it doesn't look good.
No,
you need
that's
to paint
the comment. No, dog.
So it's just kind of one of these things where I'm excited about the mats, but I'm also excited to show people how I see things. It doesn't mean that I'm right. I just look at it like, so many people don't take their time with the car they supposedly love. They're like, hey, I love my ... And you go, well, why are you throwing 42 parts on it like you're the Strad man? Like, you're not him. Like, you know what I mean? Like, and by the way, when I watch him do it, I'm like, man, that's a lot of parts. I mean, I like his stuff, but you know what I'm saying? It's like you go, you might want to just take it a little bit slower than that, because that's how you make a better decision.
We had somebody, this is, again, to stay in the pocket here, we'll probably wrap the podcast on this topic because it goes in so many different directions. We're talking about the forums, Facebook groups, and then just people that are half-assed in projects or that whatever they think is a high level is their definition of it. But somebody commented something to the effect of, it was on a clip about cars, resales, investments, and they were just saying some pretty interesting things. And one of the comments that I had screenshot here was the individual said, he said, buy noon, don't keep it long. Sounds like a sound investment, to which I said, people usually don't look at investments, cars as investments almost at all.
Oh, yeah.
Everything
just, just unleashed an argument. Just unleashed an argument.
Everything you buy is an investment. To have to shell out serious money for repairs for this vehicle requires a bad investment. And then he just kind of kept going. So I think you're familiar with the exchange that we had going on with this. And I wanted to just, before I pass it over to you, is when you take care of and make improvements to a car the way you do, it's not like at the forefront of your head you're thinking, when I get rid of this, it was such a good investment that the next buyer is going to also see it the same way. But in a way it is, but also that's not why you're doing it.
Yeah, you're doing it so you can enjoy it. And here's the silliness about that exchange, which I know you and I saw, and maybe some guys aren't over on our Instagram to see it. Go follow us there, because I think that's where a lot of these like exchanges seem to be happening.
Yeah.
Is first of all, he then goes into say the guy, talk to the guys that are selling cars at auction if
Right.
it's not an investment. It's like, buddy, I'm here to tell you something. I've been in the car collection world 15 years. These guys are losing massive amounts of money. Just because you heard of a car on YouTube that a guy bought a Countach for this and now it's worth this, or you heard this, and now it's worth that. When somebody has 50 cars, 30 cars, one win does not equal all the losses. I can guarantee you that. Okay? And nobody who's in car collecting world, unless, like I said in the comment, they're a dealer, are they thinking about making money on their collection? There is an argument to say that some car collectors look at it as a place to park money, that they're okay losing, but they do look at it as a place that I'm parking some money. They would never use the word investment. And I see this all the time. Investment grade this and investment grade that. And it's like, dude, do you think Rick Hendrick is going to get all of his money back for all of this money he's outlaid for these Chevy Corvettes over the years? It ain't happening, okay? Because what you guys aren't thinking about is who maintained the collection. What did it cost to maintain the collection every day, every year for 30 and 40 and 50 years? That is all. It's like home ownership. The gas you put in your lawnmower has to go into your cost basis of owning a home, right? But people don't do that. They go, I made $300,000 on my house. And you go, okay, you replaced your roof. You did this. You bought a refrigerator, which you wouldn't have to do if you rented. You did this. You did that. All of that stuff goes to your cost basis. It's the same in the car world. So that's why I always tell people when we modify cars for customers, whether that's sending them to a shop or things we do here, there's a large number of them, if not all of them, that you're never going to see your money back for them. It's like building a pool at your house. If you build a pool at your house, you ain't getting your money out of that. You built the pool because you want the pool. Take it from a guy that's owned pools. If you build it from the ground up, you're not getting your money out. Now, if you buy a house with a pool, you benefit, right? Because I didn't pick up the $150,000, $250,000, $300,000 to build that pool. That's the things that people don't think about. And when you talk about car builds, do them the way that you want, fully expecting that no one's going to see it your way when you sell it.
Beautifully said. I got to go back real quick. We didn't even mention what the Dale Earnhardt truck was going for. That one was a 97, the one we showed, obviously, the single cab. 19.8. I think that's a pretty good price. 19.8.
That's a fair price.
That's a fair price.
Now that's a vehicle that you probably are not going to lose much money on, right? But you're not going to become a millionaire off of it. But again, the insurance, the care of it, all of that goes into your cost basis. And I think you and I probably see this more now than ever. People just making comments, like you've never even been in the collection world. You watch some things on the internet. You're like, everyone's making money on cars. It's like, but I can tell you, like you're hearing the 1% of the car world. 99% of people were still losing money on their car collection. I promise you.
Yeah, I guess we'll actually have time for another topic, but it kind of leads into that. Where earlier I was talking about can manufacturers make we didn't really put a bow in this topic, but the enthusiast car, right? And I showed briefly the rendering that was on this article where it looks like a Miata, but it's made by Dodge, so they're calling it like a mini Viper. Do you think, this is a question I have for you, that in these manufacturers' mind, they're kind of thinking a couple of things. Young people, it's either a lack of wanting to learn how to drive or even trying to make the attempt to learn how to drive, get their licenses, the push for EVs and self-driving or self-riding vehicles like the autonomous taxi or whatever. Do you think that the enthusiast just world as a whole, and we've kind of touched on this in the past, but if we're talking about making cool cars for people that like to drive, is it just going to die eventually?
God, I hope not.
I'm with you.
But I think there's an argument. Look, I got a lot of people on my team, through HyperClean and the things in Vegas. I got a lot of team members that have kids that are 16 years old, 17 years old, and they don't have their license.
That's wild.
And I got people that, their kids reach 20, 21, they don't have their license. They're not interested in it.
Yeah.
I don't think it ever dies because so many of us resonate with cars, and I think that's generational, going to always be passed down. But I think facts are what facts are, man, is that it's less.
Yeah.
And it's less for a lot of reasons. It's less because, hey, man, when I hit 16, probably like a lot of people listening, I couldn't wait to have that freedom. Now, kids look at it and go, I'm not worried about it. I don't care about my freedom. I don't mind staying home. I know people that have lived at home till they're 25, 26 years old, if not longer. And I go, that just wasn't me. That wasn't my era of friends and people I knew. Probably the same for you.
Yeah.
Now, there's a lot of that comfort. Could it be the cost of things? Could it be all of that? Yeah, man, maybe. But also, it's just things are allowed to be different. But it's on car manufacturers to get people fired up. That's part of their business, is developing the next generation. And we all could buy a Chevy Cavalier SS. Wasn't the greatest car in the world.
Yeah.
But it was something cool, right? And it was something attainable. If you got a part-time job and you found a way to save every nickel and you worked hard in the summer, that guy that had the Cavalier SS, that was something. And we don't build those types of cars anymore, is the point. Like that is completely gone.
It's the globalists, brother. It's the globalists.
Turning the frogs gay.
All right, final question of the podcast for you, and this is a fun one. You can just say whatever. I've never thought about this. Fuck off. But if you had to say a list of a couple of things that you must carry in your weekend monster bug out buggy, what would it be?
You got to go MREs. You got to have something to eat. You got to have something to eat. You got to go MREs.
Okay.
You got to get some road flares.
Okay.
You got to have extra gas.
Yes, your tanks.
Especially because everybody telling me they get great gas mileage. Boy, mine is not experiencing that. So I'm gonna have to have a few gas cans. Like it's gonna be real heavy on the gas cans.
All right.
Then you got to think about sleep. So what? You go sleeping bags. Do you have camper on the? Do you got a tent?
Okay.
Tent, but I'm just saying you got to have some type of sleep.
Right.
Apparatus here that you're going to do. Those are the important ones. Food and shelter.
All right. Food and shelter. All right. I'll just add to it because I thought you would say tire repair kit or a spare tire at the very least.
There you go.
Right?
You got. I mean, you got to
have the cables. Are you a fan of having the battery?
You got to go the winch, brother. Get you out of.
Oh God! How did we forget the winch?
Yeah, you got to go winch.
Big jack too. Of course, you got to have the big jack.
Yeah.
Dad's got it on his Jeep.
Dude. And by the way, it's got to be quick. It's got to be one of those jacks that's like it takes like two things. Your car, your vehicle's up. So you got to have like a tire inflator.
Yep.
You gotta have one of those. You can just bolt those on now. Let's go ahead and bolt that on the back bumper. And let this thing roll.
That's why you need the $2,600 bumpers to be able to bolt all that on there.
Yeah, I mean look.
It's thinking ahead, bro.
Here's what we're trying to do here. You can live in this thing. Okay.
Yeah.
So what does it take to live? So we got a Starlink. We got PlayStation 5. Yep. Whatever you got to do here to make it feel like home. What are those people that go, man, I love camping, and then you see their camper, it's like, so it's just a living room?
It's just an extra apartment that you have on wheels?
Yeah, like...
If you ever hear the phrase, he's in the doghouse, that's going to be the doghouse.
Yeah, no, I just kind of look at it, and I got buddies that are into camping. That's just not camping. We just need to call it something else.
I don't know what you call it, but that's me.
Yeah, I mean, I'm not going in I'm not like going and like popping up a tent. Like I grew up hunting, so I don't have any issue if I'm going out there to do something, but just to like go and into the forest and put a tent up, that's not me either.
I'm not going to leave my house, lock my door, and then go into the woods and spend a couple of days. I'm just not going to do it.
Now, if you go, hey, we're going to go bow hunt some elk, let's do
story.
it.
Different story. Let's do it. Or that zombies are actually coming. Different story.
Yeah, different story. But that's why we got gas cans, MRE, tuna in a can opener. Yeah. All that kind of stuff.
And you got to don't forget the firearms.
Look, you have a garage gym. I know you're just eating tuna right out of the can.
I will.
Yeah, me too.
Here, real quick, a final fun question. Are you good about just eating the same shit over and over again?
Yeah.
Okay. We'll survive. Then we'll be fine.
Yeah, I'm real bad about that.
Okay.
I mean, it's actually like a thing in my house. Like, hey, we're not eating that anymore. Hey, you can't eat that again. So yeah,
the missus is like, hey man, I need some variety in my life here with the food.
Okay. Yeah, 100%. Like they got some Mexican food yesterday. I just ate what I normally eat. So for anybody that doesn't know, I know I share this publicly a lot. I'm purely like almost 100% red meat and have been for a very, very long time before it was in style because I just simply don't care for much else. So like I'm heavy on the red meat.
Here's what we need. We need to make brand sponsorship deals with the companies that Nick enjoys so that we can talk about it on the podcast, because no free shout outs here. We don't get free shout outs. We don't tend to, but I like Nick's taste in a lot of things. I've called him a tastemaker in the past just for fun because he thinks of ideas and companies and directions for things that I just probably wouldn't. So when it comes to knives, pans, car stuff, garage stuff, all these different things, you have a really interesting approach to it. It's always a higher level. It's always a higher quality. So if we can get a little brand deal going with there, we can expose the audience to some of
Can you guys send me a whole cow? If you're a rancher out there and you want to shout out on the Clutch Culture Pod, I got the freezer space. Yeah, 100%.
That I can easily make happen.
Yeah,
but the pans
Texas
you cook
is.
them on, yeah, dude, the pans, the grill, whatever your utensils are, the knives. I want to know the stuff that Nick. You don't have to say it now because it's going to be a segment, but I want to know like what you're using because I feel like if I showed you the knives that I use, you're going to roast me and I'm going to feel really sad.
Yeah, you know what? I went down the knife trail a little bit a few years ago, like for at home. Boy, can you really get lost in that world.
I love cleavers, knives, pocket knives, dude. I mean,
it's like, dude, do I need all? Yeah, do I need all of this to, slice up a scallion? Doesn't seem like I need it, but I love having it.
Need? What the fuck does that mean? Need?
Yeah, 100%.
I said I need it.
100%.
All right, everybody, that's the podcast this week. Excellence as always. Please leave hey, as we were talking, we got another review on Apple, so now we have a full dozen, but rather rating. They didn't leave a review. Like I said, you give us 5 stars, please say something. Say you like the way Nick's voice sounds, or you like the cool hat on his head. Say something. Yeah. But at Clutch Culture Pod everywhere, at clutchculturepodcast at gmail.com if you want to send some stories, information, parts. We're still looking for high-level.
Actually, we need to, if you go to Spotify and help us with these losers that don't like us.
Please do that as well. We'll see you guys next week.
All right, guys.